Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. I'm not quite ready to call this Cleveland Indians team one of destiny, but you know what? It's getting close. Considering all the injuries they've had and are still having, it's almost impossible to believe that with 15 games remaining, they have a record of 86 wins and 61 losses. And if things fall right this weekend, including a Washington win tonight over the Twins, there's a possibility at the end of this weekend they can switch places with Minnesota and leave them out of the division and the wild card race, which would be one of the great pennant race collapses of all time. Either way, it should be a great weekend of baseball in downtown Cleveland. Dan Labbe is here to talk Browns. More sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Thursday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into its 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Dan Labbe from cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer is with us. Dan, I don't even know where to begin. We have so much Browns stuff, so much Indian stuff. You were out today at the Browns camp, and Odell Beckham kind of said a few things or two.
He did. I think maybe he had been sitting on them and waiting for his opportunity to get some things off his chest, I guess.
He had an opportunity or six to not say anything, but he chose to take the opportunity.
Yeah, Odell is one of those guys that if he has an opportunity to say something, I think he's going to say it.
But he didn't want to talk about his watch.
No, that was one thing he was done talking about. Didn't want to talk about his wristwear of choice.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Email us during the show at reallesLevine@gmail.com. Dan Labbe is here. Dan, if you don't mind, we're going to talk Indians for a little bit. You want to join in?
Let's go for it.
We'll talk about it because they have an off day today flying back from the West Coast where they went and swept California, which, well, they didn't have Mike Trout, but that doesn't matter. They had practice beating up on Detroit and Chicago. So beating up on the Los Angeles Angels without Mike Trout is no big deal, right?
Well, now, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Take advantage of the teams, especially in the middle of a pennant race, and take advantage of these teams.
All right, so they're 4 games out. They are idle today. The Minnesota Twins take on Washington Nationals tonight. If Washington can come up with a win, they'd be 3.5 games differentiating the two teams, and they meet for 3 games here over the weekend. And I've got news for you. The Minnesota Twins don't want any part of the Cleveland Indians.
No, and we see it over and over again with Terry Francona, right? His team plays so much better in the second half of the season. They get momentum going, and they can be tough to stop. And the job he's done this year has been incredible. Well, with the roster he has, the injuries.
The Yankees had a lot more injuries against bigger guys, but they had ways of overcoming that. Cleveland didn't. They went from week to week to week, just shuffling and dancing, doing whatever they had to do, and for the most part, it succeeded. If you'd say, well, you're not going to have Ramirez down the stretch, you're not going to have Kluber almost at all for the whole season, and on with all the injuries. Now it's Brad Hand. I think it's remarkable the Indians have 86 wins, and legitimately with 15 left, I don't know, they could hit 94, 95 wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's in play. And the Ramirez injury, too, is one of those things. I mean, you haven't had Kluber all year. You didn't have Carrasco for a long time. Ramirez is a guy you were counting on. He was starting to get hot, and then he gets hurt. So to deal with this injury the way they have is even more impressive.
Yeah, it really is. They bring in Yu Chang, and where's he come from? And he contributes. All right, so if they don't overcome the Minnesota Twins, you've got the Rays and the A's that they got to worry about. Let's take a look at that race. How about that? Tampa Bay now 87-60. And Oakland 86-60, and the Indians right there at 86-61. Half game between the 3 teams.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be the odd man out.
Yeah, and the wild card obviously has been controversial ever since they brought it in and the way they do it now, but it has added some life to some of the races as well.
Let's take a look at the Rays and the schedule they have. They're at Texas today for 1 more game, then at the Angels for 3, the Dodgers for 3.
Tough.
The Red Sox, 4, Yankees, 2, and Toronto, 3. You would think that's a pretty tough schedule to have.
Yeah, I mean, especially because you have the Dodgers right there in the middle.
Right.
The Red Sox are, they're still fighting a little bit, even though they just fired their GM.
Right. Here's Oakland. What they have, they're at Houston again tonight. And Houston needs it. They want to overcome the Yankees for the best record in the American League. Kansas City, 3 games. Texas, 3 games. Then they're at the Angels, and they finish at Seattle. The Indians, of course, in a crazy schedule. After the Twins, 3 games in Detroit, then they play Philadelphia at home for 3 games. At Chicago, then they finish at Washington, where they won't be able to use Reyes, the DH.
It's the way it should be, right? NL
No,
teams
it's not the
helping
way
determine AL playoff spots. What a weird
you're
setup.
You're going to wind up figuring if the Indians make the wild card or the division, they did it because, I don't know, Zach Plesac laid down a bunt.
Yeah, and who would have thought that the Phillies and the Nationals would play a role in the Indians' playoff fate?
Well, yeah, you have 2 real good teams in the same division, and one is going to be left out there also. 216-575-0403. So there you have it. Now the Indians had to make a call up. Brad Hand injured, but they haven't said what it is. They haven't said if he's going to be put on the IL. They haven't said anything. But James Karinchak is now a member of the Cleveland Indians. Hasn't been in the big leagues yet. Look at these numbers here. He was a 9th-round draft pick in 17. 23-year-old right-hander, played at Akron and Columbus, and then in the Arizona League. They tried to shut him down. But look at that, Dan, 30 1/3 innings and 74 strikeouts. I don't care if it's in T-ball. That's pretty good.
That's incredible. And sometimes you see these guys come up late, especially high strikeout guys, and they can make an impact.
We were talking back in the control room. What if they said on the last day of the season, they say, Karinchak, go make your major league debut and strike out the side in the bottom of the 9th.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe he could do it. 74 strikeouts in 30 innings is unbelievable.
All right, 216-575-0403. All right, do you think do they make the division championship? Do they make the wild card, or do they make a golf date on October 3rd?
I think they can win the wild card game.
Yeah.
I think they can get to the division series. I don't know if they can get past that. It's probably the matchup, right? Can they get by Houston?
It'll be Houston or the Yankees.
I think a lot of it is the matchup, but
well, you got to get there
first. I think they can at least get there.
Yeah, you got to get there first. So you got to find a way to get that wild card spot. And if you can somehow get the division, then it's 3 out of 5, and you have a chance there with your pitching. This segment of More Sports and Less Levine brought to you by the Ohio Lottery. The Ohio Lottery. Did you know there are over 130,000 winners on Ohio Lottery pick games every month? With that amount of winning, try pick 3, pick 4, or pick 5 for chances to win. And you could win up to $500, $5,000, and $50,000. And believe it or not, that's twice a day from the Ohio Lottery. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Less Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Dan Labbe of cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer covers the Browns. We'll get into the Browns. They got some interesting news about their opponent. We're going to find out if that makes a difference or not. We'll take a break. More Sports and Less Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I mean, you just said even though it's a preseason, that says enough about it. It's preseason. It's like a known rule. Like in preseason, like nobody in the NFL is really out to do stuff like that. I mean, I had players on this team telling me that that's what he was telling them to do. Take me out of the game, and it's preseason. So you just know who he is. Just the man. That's the man calling the plays.
And did you feel like that injury sort of set off? I mean, do you think?
Welcome back this afternoon. Earlier today, Odell Beckham had some things to say about his experience with Greg Williams, which is interesting, and he says it's backed up by some Browns players who played for Greg. We're talking about the 2017 season, right?
Yeah, the 2017 preseason.
Let's back it up. What happened?
So,
according to what Odell is saying.
Well, the Giants were playing the Browns at First Energy Stadium, and Greg Williams was the defensive coordinator, and Brienne Body Calhoun actually hit Beckham. It was kind of in the knee. It was actually a scary moment. A lot of people thought it might be a knee injury. It ended up being an ankle injury. Now, Odell Beckham today kind of called back to that moment and basically claimed that he thought Greg Williams told guys to take him out. They almost treated it more like a regular season game than a preseason game, especially. That was one of the points he made. And then he said that injury, coming back from that injury earlier, sort of led to more injuries down the road.
Well, it was a big deal. I don't remember a big deal being made out of it when it happened.
Yeah, it was something I looked back on, and I remember in the locker room that night, I had grabbed Brienne Body Calhoun and talked to him. He sort of explained why he hit Beckham like he did. I know some Giants players were a little upset that he didn't make more of a play on the ball instead of going for the player, but there was never any sort of dust up as far as, was it a specifically dirty hit? Was he trying to take him out? Anything like that? And nothing about Greg Williams.
Is there finger pointing or anything on the field? I don't remember it as an incident at all. But then again, you know that Odell Beckham did miss quite a bit of time in that season.
Yeah, I went back and looked at the story I wrote, and I did mention in there that he kind of stood up and either spiked the ball or kind of spun the ball sort of towards Body Calhoun.
After the play.
As he was kind of in frustration about the injury.
All right, so you got a couple of things working here. You've got supposedly Adam Gase, when he was in Miami, didn't want Darnold. He wanted Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And I know New York media jumping all over that. Is that true? And even if it is, so what? That was a different team, a different draft position.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where, I guess they wanted to look back on his history a little bit and see how he really felt about Sam Darnold. But at the same time, I don't know that it means he doesn't like Sam Darnold or can't grow to like Sam Darnold. He knew Sam Darnold was his quarterback when he took the job. So obviously that was enticing enough for him to go to the Jets.
Right. All right, so as it turns out, Darnold has mononucleosis and won't play. That could last all year.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're almost talking about their bye
strain.
week. Yeah, they're almost talking about their bye week which I believe is week 4. So
Okay.
he might not be back until week 5. I mean, it's one of those things that can knock you out for a long time.
No question about it. So who starts, and what do the Browns have to face?
It's going to be Trevor Siemian, who a lot of people probably remember from his days as the Broncos starting quarterback. I believe he's 13-11 as a starter. He's okay. He doesn't have a big arm necessarily, but he is a guy that has played and won in the NFL. So at least for the Jets' sake, they aren't turning to someone who's never played, some rookie or some guy they pulled off the street.
And the Browns are in no shape at this point to laugh this one off and say, well, this is a gimme game to us right now, because they haven't proven they could do that anyway.
Yeah, and what did we say all last week? The Titans don't have their starting tackle. They might not have one of their starting guards. And then the Titans go out and win that game by 30 points, and the front four get some pressure, but they never really quite have the impact that we thought maybe they would have.
What do you make of what happened on Sunday, other than the fact that it was a total team collapse?
Yeah, I mean, it was
for
just,
one game.
It was just sloppy. They lost their composure. I know a lot of Titans players kind of relished the fact that they felt like they were the more disciplined team, the more composed team, the better conditioned team, they even said. On the road. And they kind of came in and took advantage of a Browns team that just didn't quite look ready.
Okay, you have Freddie Kitchens. Most people would... The original finger pointing has to be to him. He's a new head coach in his first game. But is that fair?
I think it is, because you kind of look back to what happened in Indiana when they practiced with the Colts.
Fights.
Yeah, he almost encouraged it, and I think that surprised a lot of people. And you don't want to go to joint practices and get in fights. Like universally, almost anyone you talk to, that's something you want to avoid. I think people were a little surprised by how Freddie sort of wrote that off a little bit, and it's one of those things in hindsight you look back on and say, I wonder if this played a role in the 18 penalties, and not just the 18 penalties, but the personal foul penalties.
Yeah, and you also wonder, assuming he's still here next year, if he'll change his attitude on that. The way he plays the exhibition games, the way he plays the practices with other teams, and maybe it'll be different.
Yeah, and this is all a learning curve for him.
Yeah.
He hadn't even been a coordinator until the second half of last season.
So Dennis Maniloff was here last night, and he says, you hate to say Game 2 in any season is a critical game, but when you look at what they face after Game 2, you almost have to call this a must-win.
Yeah, if it's not a must-win, you better win it, right? I don't know if there's much of a difference between those two phrases, but
because it gets ugly after that.
If you lose this game, now you're 0-2. You've got to come home and play a Sunday night game against the Rams, who looked pretty good the other day. You've got Baltimore, who looked great against Miami
on the road.
Yeah. And then you've got to travel to San Francisco. It's probably the weakest team in that bunch, not counting the Jets. But you've got to go to the West Coast and play them on a Monday night, which is not easy to do.
Then that team lurking in New England.
Yeah, you've got New England coming up. Seattle comes to town in between then. It does not get easier if you drop to 0-2.
Wow. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dan Labbe is here from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Been talking to you about Northeast Factory Direct for quite some time now. I want to tell you about the three great locations. You see them right there. West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, and Freeway Drive, that's in Macedonia. They're in business 20 years right now, and they're selling it started in a small garage in Lakewood, Ohio, selling a single dining room set. And because there was no overhead costs at the additional site and traditional site, he was able to sell things at half price at the small retail store. It's a pretty good business model. Look what he's turned it into, and he wants to celebrate with you, the customers, the 20th year anniversary and all kinds of great savings and specials for you at all three locations. You see them right there at Northeast Factory Direct. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. They've got live racing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And their live racing starts with the time at 6 p.m. They also have the noontime opening. That's for simulcast action from all over the world at all the great tracks everywhere at Northfield Park, where it's free admission, free parking every day. We're going to come back. Adam Gase has some things to say and about Freddie Kitchens and the Cleveland Browns. We'll check that when we get back. Dan Labbe is with us. More sports and less Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of September and save up to half off. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
You know, just being with him since we started in the spring, the way he's practiced, the way he's prepared, just kind of the way he is, man, and nothing really bothers him. Like, he's got a good way about him. Like, he was the perfect guy for Sam, we felt like, and he's hold true to that. And then, but watching him prepare and practice and kind of seeing what he did yesterday, getting thrown in the ones, just his calmness, I think it's great for our other players because he's not a panic guy. He's He's kind of like, he's got a coolness about him. And, when things change at that position, sometimes other guys can panic a little bit, but when you got a guy that's just really calm and steady, then it calms everybody else down.
You were personally aggressive in making sure that he was going to be the backup this year. So what did you see him in prior years where you're like, this has to be the guy?
I feel like there were so many crossover games we had with somebody playing Denver where I saw a lot of his games in his time when he was starting. And I just remember, because we worked him out when he was coming out, but he had the ACL and he couldn't really move. And when Denver signed him and then he became the starter after Peyton left, I kept seeing him play a lot. And in my head, I'm going, wow, this guy really throws a nice ball and he gets it out, it comes out clean. And, it just seemed like the more film I watched on him, and then when we started evaluating him, then I really liked him.
That's Adam Gase. How close did he come to becoming the Browns head coach? I know that this is when they hired Hugh Jackson. Wasn't he second or third in line?
I think he was the guy that they kind of liked and looked at. Of course, he's got those ties to Peyton Manning. Right. We know that Jimmy Haslam has those Tennessee ties and the Peyton Manning ties. So I think he was always sort of, his name was always kind of tied to the Browns. But I don't know that he ever came real close to actually getting the job.
Yeah, I remember Peyton Manning really pushed for him.
Yeah. I mean, Peyton Manning obviously really liked working with the guy.
I'm thinking somewhere along the line in football season, Tom Brady's name comes up, Bill Belichick's name comes up almost every time. This is another example. Miami is a horrible team. The Jets, who looked like they were going to improve, but now with their quarterback situation, who knows? Le'Veon Bell, who knows that also? And then the Buffalo Bills. It's almost 6 automatic. You talk about, is it Brady who makes Belichick, Belichick who makes Brady? No, I think it's the Eastern Division that makes both of them.
Did you take it all the way down, Andy? Or?
I think that helps a lot to have to play the AFCs. You get those 2 games every year against all of those teams. And, teams have kind of benefited off the Browns in the AFC North with that. They've gotten to play the Browns twice a year. Right. And for a lot of years, that's been 2 really easy wins. And I think that's played sometimes into the division.
But it wasn't 4 or 6 easy wins.
Yeah, exactly. It adds to that.
Yeah.
And no one has ever been able to really challenge the Patriots. The Jets every now and again during the Mangini years kind of did. But they haven't been able. No one's been able to challenge them regularly.
All right. So here's the thing that I think involves the Cleveland Browns at this point, because you said it's almost a must-win, or we decided it was almost a must-win. The problem is that the Cleveland has been the laughingstock of the NFL for as long as we can remember, and although on paper everything looks good, if they don't start showing it quickly on the field, they're going to be right back in that same thing where they're going to be laughed at and nobody's going to take them seriously, and that's not a good sign.
And I think you're seeing it already. I think there are a lot of people out there in the media, especially in the national
players.
media, who listen to this team talk and heard all the hype. There was this team or just somebody from the outside, and I think they saw this team lose by 30, and a lot of people wanted to jump on that and point it out.
On the other hand,
you bring that on yourself, though.
Sure.
The Browns brought that on themselves.
You can take care of that your own way. On the other hand, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who along with the Browns are co-favorites to win the division, they get pounded by 30 also.
Yeah, they didn't look great either. But that's an interesting kind of juxtaposition, because that's a team that regularly starts slow. They were playing the Super Bowl champs. I think when you have that track record, people tend to trust that team a little bit more than maybe they do the Browns, because they've never seen the Browns actually do it.
Right. There's no reason to believe that the Browns can do it until they do it.
Yeah.
Sounds stupid.
Well, yeah, and I don't think anybody would be shocked. Look, maybe Pittsburgh's just not very good. They go 7-9, but I don't think anybody would be shocked if we look back at the end of the year and say, oh, that huge loss to New England wasn't that big of a deal, I guess.
Right, exactly. At what point, Freddie Kitchens still came out as confident as can be. How much of it was bravado and how much was real confidence, but also kind of being afraid of what might be down the road here?
I think he's a confident guy, generally. I think that's sort of how he is, but I also think he understands you've got to exude that a little bit, and you've got to show your players that you still believe in them. But I think he's confident that he can come up with some kind of game plan, some kind of scheme to beat the Jets. I don't think it's fake at all. But I also think that was that was a moment for everyone where they either got humbled or they realized they've got to learn something or they've got to make an adjustment. I think that includes him in a big way.
Here's the thing. I don't know if the current Browns do that. I know the Browns have done this in the past and other teams do it also. especially for the early opponents, they spend quite a bit of time on the off season. Somebody on the staff is assigned to cover them or to watch for them and come up with whatever is going to work. And here you go, whoever works 6 months on the Jets game, they got to just rip up everything and start all over again.
I guess so. And that's the most frustrating thing about the Titans thing. Like, you've been preparing for the Titans since the schedule came out, or at least I hope you did. And certainly Mike Vrabel was preparing for the Browns since the schedule came out.
And that's the best you can do.
Yeah, it makes it even more frustrating.
Yeah, I thought before the game Tennessee just didn't get any talk on what they deserved. I mean, you thought they were the sacrificial lamb for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, and not just locally, nationally.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by all of that because it's a team that won 9 games. They were a 2-point conversion away from beating the Chargers, who were a playoff team last year. I thought that was a better team than myself included, a lot of people gave them credit for.
In the early going, anything surprise you with other teams?
Baltimore did surprise me.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we don't know what Miami is. Maybe they're just tanking and trying to get the number 1 pick. But to put up 42 points in a half was really, really impressive. Lamar Jackson looked like he can actually really throw the football this year. He was accurate.
Yeah.
He looked better.
You could also tell he's got a chip on his shoulder. He says that's not bad for a running back.
Yeah, right. And you like to see that. This is a guy that kind of, Baker Mayfield always likes to play that underdog card,
right.
And Lamar Jackson can kind of play that a little bit now.
Well, unfortunately, Baker may get to play that a little bit longer
right.
if they don't come up with a win. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Tri-C, you can explore your interests and find a program that puts you on the path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses in over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tric.edu to find out more information about Cuyahoga Community College. We'll take a break. We'll come back in a moment. Coming up Wednesday night, that's a week from yesterday, the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame will open its doors to 6 new members: Otis Chapman, John Malloy, Tony Miller, Tom Lucci, Urban Meyer, as well as Rob Moss. And that dinner starts at 7:30. You'll be out of there by 9:30, 9:45. But it does start at 7:30. But we'll do our show from the site at Landerhaven. That night, we'll do it from 6 until 7. We'll have all the Hall of Fame inductees and more special guests that night from 6 to 7 right here on cleveland.com. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More Dan Labbe is with us. More Sports and Less Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
Birthdays for today, the great Jesse Owens, born on this date. Dan, I don't know about you. I once did my Mount Rushmore of Cleveland sports athletes, and Jesse Owens, one of the top 4.
He has to be.
Has to be, no question about it.
What
he did
hard to leave him off.
In the 36 Olympics, unbelievable. Charlie King Kong Keller, born in 1916. Kareem Puff, 1947. Yao Ming, Andrew Luck, this is a pretty good birthday day. And Freddie Freeman, all born on the 12th of September. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. This portion of More Sports and Less Levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct with 3 great locations, east, west, and of course south in Macedonia. Dan Labbe of cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer is with us. What did we find out about this Cleveland Browns team, or do we just write it off and say we'll get them next week and then we'll make a decision? Or was there something that you're afraid that might stick with them?
I think we're going to find out this week, honestly. It's really easy to overreact to week one. Obviously, every week in the NFL is an overreaction because of the way it's set up.
By the fans by the fans or the teams?
I think by fans and media. I think it's easy to overreact to things we see in week one. So now we're going to really find out about this team in week two. Do they bounce back and beat a Jets team that they should be able to beat? Or do they struggle again and maybe they barely squeak by, or maybe they lose?
What was the most concerning thing that happened as far as you're concerned?
I think,
or where do you begin?
It's got to be the penalties. It's got to be the lack of composure. Not just the the holds and things like that. Those things sort of happen in week one.
Right.
There were too many of them, but the personal foul penalties. Myles Garrett hitting Delaney Walker and Greg Robinson kicking a player and just things like that. The composure things are the things that worry me the most, because Greg Williams and every defensive coordinator from here on out and every coach from here on out is going to try and get the Browns to react like that.
And it shows that they may do that at an inopportune time. So when you look at what happened, and one of the things I'm concerned with and have been from day one is give too much on the plate of Freddie Kitchens at this point. I don't think, number one, I don't think he deserved it, but number two, I think that it's a problem if he doesn't get something off his plate so he can figure out what he's got going. And a perfect example was within a couple minutes span, Robinson has the penalty, and then Lamb comes in and gets hurt. Somebody's got to be making decisions on the sidelines, and it's got to be him.
Yeah, and they only chose to have 7 offensive linemen active, which was a little bit of a risk.
What should they have
had? You'd probably like 8, but they must have wanted somebody else out there available, either for special teams or maybe an extra defender or something like that. But that was one choice that was sort of like, maybe you should have done this differently. I think the big thing for Freddie Kitchens, if this team continues to struggle, is going to be, should he continue calling plays? And that's going to be the question that comes up if the offense, which I thought was pretty bland once they got off script on Sunday, if the offense struggles again and win or lose, I think you start to ask that question. Should he give that play calling up?
I think if I'm Freddie, I give it up before they take it from me.
Yeah, and that's also the card he has to play, right? If this team is 0-2 or 0-3 or whatever, the card he has to play is,
spend more time on the game itself.
Yeah, I made a mistake, I'm going to make a change.
Yeah. Were you surprised by the kicking game, the place kicker and the punter, the way they went?
I was pleasantly surprised by Jamie Galland. He was a guy that I was worried about, but he punted pretty well, showed some touch in some spots.
You're not worried about Colquitt not being there?
There didn't seem to be many issues. I don't think that was the issue on the extra point that Seibert missed.
No, he just missed it.
Yeah, I think he just missed it, and that's obviously a little concerning to see that, but I thought the punting game was pretty solid.
That's another point. I put a lot of emphasis on this, and Freddie didn't, and I don't think a lot of other people did. When you come down on the first drive and you just tear down the field, nobody stops you, and then you miss the extra point. I know it's only a point. I know that doesn't change all that much, although later in the game having that point missed could be a problem. I thought one of the advantages that the Browns, the crowd was incredibly loud, incredibly supportive, and even though they got the 6 points, they didn't get the 7th, and the wind was taken out of their sails.
I agree. I think that was big. When you miss the extra point, you go from people cheering and being happy, and all of a sudden they're groaning, and they're upset. And then the other thing that happened is the Titans came out and they drove down the field. And
it was a big break for them.
But they got 3 points out of it. So, so you lose the momentum when you miss the extra point, and then you turn around and allow the Titans to drive down the field.
Well, the other thing it does is puts doubts in the mind of the special teams guy and Freddie Kitchens. And if they have a chance to go for a 48-yard field goal or try for it on 4th down, maybe missing kicks like that might be the deciding factor on what might not be the right choice.
And it puts another decision on your plate too. So now after you score, are you going to keep kicking extra points? Or are you going to maybe just go for 2 more often? It's just another decision you have to make if your kicker's not reliable.
Yeah, you have to make it, and it's one that you shouldn't have to make.
Yeah, exactly. You want to just be able to either you want to go into a game saying, we're going to send our kicker out there every time, or, maybe you want to be a team that's more aggressive and go for 2 more.
Sometimes
but you want to go into the game thinking about that, not trying to adjust that on the fly.
No, that's right. You got to make that play the way you designed it on Thursday, not waiting until 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter, or whatever that is. So what is fixable? What is easily fixable here?
Well, I think, the quarterback play, I think Baker, held the ball a little bit too long at times. I think some of those sacks, the offensive line was miserable, but I do think some of it was on Baker as well. The ball wasn't coming out quickly. If he can be a little more decisive, maybe get the ball in Odell Beckham's hands a little more. Hopefully, if your offensive line is back to Greg Robinson at left tackle, Chris Hubbard at right tackle, you're still going to have struggles, but at least you have guys that have all played together. I think that's an improvable area. And you know what? Nick Chubb, run the ball a little more.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to turn and hand the ball off to Nick Chubb
By the way,
more.
Kyle Koulis was released.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, was that a surprise?
It wasn't, just because he was a guy that was in the right guard competition early on in the spring and then early on in camp. He kind of faded a little bit, and so it's not a surprise.
So he had a fair
decided to go
chance?
different way. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah. All right, Dan Labbe is with us, Northeast Factory Direct. 3 great locations, east, west, and of course south in Macedonia, celebrating the 20th year in business. You know the story. You've seen Alex Nemeth on TV for several years now, telling you what a great situation they have at Northeast Factory Direct. 20 years is it's their business model, and it's eventually an incredible place with incredible prices. You don't have to buy a membership or anything like that. Just show up, and if you want to compare with someone else, they feel fine with having you do that, because they know you're going to come back and they'll take care of you at that point. This weekend, they're at all locations now. They're putting stuff, because they started in a garage. They're going back to a garage for the rest of the month of September, and you're going to save even more than you save on an everyday basis. That's at northeastfactorydirect.com. Sokolowski's University Inn. Haven't been there, Dan, since this afternoon.
There you go.
Yeah, for the Joe DiMaggio-like streak of every Thursday. Joe DiMaggio-like streak, nothing can compare to that, of course. Sokolowski's University Inn, the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. They won that 4 years ago, and they should be, and they are proud of that. The only Cleveland restaurant to ever win it. 5 restaurants in the country win it each and every year. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn was able to pick that off about 3-4 years ago, and they're Cleveland's oldest family-owned and operated restaurant, established in 1923. We'll come back in a moment. We'll take a look at sports history and a How Come Quickie. More sports and less Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
I had an epoxy-based sand paint on my floor that deteriorated, and that's why I called Nature Stone.
Why paint? It's expensive, it's ugly, and it doesn't last. Nature Stone is always affordable. It's beautiful, and with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of September and save up to half off. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then, watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
Let's check out this date in sports history. This is unbelievable, Dan. September 12, 1995. Harlem Globetrotters' 24-year, 8,829-game winning streak ends. A team with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who scored 34 points, beats the Globetrotters 91-85 in a win in Vienna, Austria. How about that?
Yeah, that's incredible.
I wonder if they lose the next game, if the coach is in trouble.
I think if you're the Globetrotters, you lose once, you get fired.
Abe Saperstein comes from somewhere and fires a guy. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It couldn't have been Red Klotz coaching that team, could it?
I don't know, but man, beat the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah,
I don't know how that
that's on
happens.
my record. You're absolutely right. Time for a How Come Quickie. How come there's no tape or film of Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points in a game in Hershey, Pennsylvania, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar defeating the Harlem Globetrotters in Vienna, Austria? We don't have any tape of those events. We don't know if they really happened.
It's sort of like that LeBron dunk a few years ago. I think it was right when he came in the league. Somebody dunked on him, and he had all the tape like confiscated and didn't want
not in
anybody
a game.
to see
It
it.
was
No,
in
it was
practice.
in some practice or something.
It was, I want to say, a kid who wound up playing at Xavier, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I know LeBron
You
had it
know,
all confiscated.
LeBron could have had some fun just leaving it the way it was and say, "Oh, I let him do it."
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Well, it was before social media, so
that's true.
Took advantage of that.
All right. We decided, or you decided, what's fixable, what is not fixable that you saw, or are we just blowing this whole thing out of proportion?
I don't know if we're blowing it out of proportion, but again, I do just think we need to see what they can do against a Jets team that really struggled on Sunday and blew a 16-point lead, and a lot of those points came from the defense. We don't know if C.J. Mosley's going to play yet, and he's kind of the guy that makes that defense go. I think the good news is it's hard to really look at it and say there's stuff that isn't fixable. Unless you're really concerned about the offensive line and you really think that's going to derail the season, that's the one area that I would say they kind of are what they are.
Yeah.
But I think even they can play a little bit better.
No, but the thing that is concerning to me, if you're going to make up a situation that is totally in your advantage, okay, your opponent is going to lose your quarterback to mononucleosis. You have Levine and Bell, who had an MRI today, although at this point we don't know. We assume he doesn't have a problem. Against a team that lost a game they shouldn't have lost last week. All of these things, the only thing they've got going for them, I think, is that it's a home game for them.
Yeah, I mean, everything is set up for the Browns to win this game. I mean, even more so than last week when we were talking about the offensive line and not having Taylor Lewan. Everything is set up for the Browns to go in and win that game,
Right.
which again, if they don't win this game, 0-2, the numbers aren't great for teams making the playoffs when they start 0-2, but especially this 0-2 start,
Yeah. Which is
it
kind
would
of
be a disaster.
I find that to be I believe that's the case statistically, that if you lose the first two, it's very rare that you get to be the playoffs. But you've seen teams below 2 games below 500 that get to the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, and the Browns would have all their division games still in front of them,
Right.
and there's teams that can do it, and we know their second half schedule is a little bit easier, but you just really start to get worried. We already talked about it. That schedule after this game, even if they win this game, it's going to be a really tough sledding moving
Yeah,
past
and
this.
if you have trouble in the first 5 or 6 games, psychologically it's tough to get yourself back to where you should be right now.
Yeah, and you can't lose to teams that you should beat. So the
Right.
Jets, and honestly, you could make the case that the Browns at their peak should be a better team than the Titans, and they lost by 30.
And they weren't, no question. Well, does the number matter?
No, not really, because it kind of snowballed.
Yeah, I mean, they were down by 9 with 3 minutes left in the half.
Yeah, and
in
it
the
was
third quarter.
15-13 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So, I think things just snowballed as Baker maybe tried to force some things.
Right, exactly. No, we're coming back one more segment. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. You've got, they're open at noon for that simulcast racing, but 6 p.m. with the post time for the live racing that you see right there. And that's on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Northfield Park, where it's free admission, free parking every day. We'll come back one more time. We'll check out Les Levine history and more with Dan Labbe, brought to you exclusively here on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement,
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
and we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of September and save up to half off. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen. For old world traditions or original experiences, From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This date in Les Levine history, September 12, 2007. Les tells his wife he's going out to shoot some golf. She says, well, even if you caught some, you wouldn't know how to cook them. Is that okay?
That's pretty good.
That's okay. I think it's better
I like
than
that line.
It's better than the journals that these things that we got sent in. This being the last live show of the week, we go back and have the week in review. September 9th, Les goes to a Browns game every year since 1955. Somehow he thinks things are going to change. They don't. They're not going to change. The Browns lose 43-13 with Jimmy Haslam's scoreboard shaped like the home state of Tennessee. How did they ever get away with that?
It's one of my favorite things. I don't know why, but it's just one of my favorite things about that
Do you
stadium.
assume Alex Shiner had something to do with that?
He had didn't
I mean,
he?
what a way to
he had something to do with everything that we kind of look back on
Yeah.
and say, what were they thinking?
What a way to suck up to the boss, though. You get this two scoreboards shaped like the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, maybe he had missed a deadline or something and just needed to get a shape of a scoreboard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they ran out of money at that point. Eddie Johnson, the great linebacker, former linebacker for the Browns. I used to do arena football games, and he was my color commentator. And we're in Arizona at a pool in Phoenix, and he's got a necklace, and in diamonds it says assassin. And I said, Eddie, you spelled it wrong. He says, yeah, I couldn't use that last S. I ran out of money.
These things happen.
Those things do happen. All right, we've got some How Come Quickies set in. We need you to judge them, Dan.
Okay.
Big Ed's got a couple. How come there are flotation devices under plane seats instead of in parachutes?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
That's fair. Because
out of 10, what do
dig
you
underneath
give it?
Out of 10, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
7 is good. How come convenience stores that are open 24/7, 365 have locks on their doors?
Ooh.
What do you need? What do you need to close up shop for?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little lower on that.
Yeah,
one.
go ahead.
I'm going to go like 6 out of 10.
6. You can use point something like 6.5 if you want. Mr. Gullible, how come my girlfriend accuses me of acting like a transformer, but I said no, wait, I can change.
All right, we're going to go 8.5 there.
They're getting stupider and stupider, which makes them good.
Yeah,
I've always said about quickies, when they're good, and when they're bad, they're great. How come I considered a brain transplant, but then I changed my mind?
We're going to go a little higher, 8.7.
8.7.
Yeah.
Mr. Gullible will be happy to hear that. John Patrick says, how come a shotgun wedding is a matter of wife or death? That's terrible. Well, strike that one from the record. We can't.
No grade.
We can't use that. No grade.
No score.
We're going to pretend it just didn't happen.
It's off the board.
All right, now, you've told us what needs to happen and what needs not to happen. It's that time of the program where you have to tell us what will happen.
I think the Browns will alleviate everyone's stress. I think they'll go out Monday night. I think they'll win the game. I don't think it'll be a huge blowout, but I do think they'll win probably by 2 scores. I guess off the top of my head, I would say 27-13.
That would be nice. I think what they ought to do for that, if the Browns had anything to do with this, make the production of the TV, bring in Joe Namath and let Billy Andrews pick off an interception.
There you go.
Just like 1970.
See if ESPN can pull that off. It will be kind of interesting to see if they do anything special for the anniversary of that game.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's the New York market. They will do whatever they can to please them.
Yeah, that's true.
And hopefully we will do everything we can to stop that from happening.
Yep.
Great job as always by Dan Labbe. We appreciate it very much. You're going, right?
I will be there.
You will be there. The Meadowlands. Do they not call it the Meadowlands anymore?
They do. It's like MetLife Stadium, but it is still in the Meadowlands. It's in the same place. So.
All right, thanks to Dan. We'll get him back real soon. Have a great weekend. I'm on 92.3 The Fan. Tomorrow from 10 until 2 in with Andy Baskin in place of Jeff Phelps for the day. and I'll be back there next Friday also. That'll do it for us. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.